Chamishi, and today we're going to go to the library. I want to show you some books, and then we'll walk through the aisle, and I'm going to be speaking in the library very low. But I'll throw links below, so my videos are really not important, but the information is important, and the books you read are important. I found something interesting here. The story and the meaning of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it takes you throughout the different times in Judaism, what Rosh Hashanah, what days of war was, what Yom Kippur was in Jerusalem. Very interesting if you read this. And then it evolved to modern times, people asking forgiveness, making it a day of holiness, a day of fasting, abstaining from everything you do regularly, and and then there's another book some woman wrote, or someone, two people, Barbara Diamond, Golden, about Bar Mitzvah and Bas Mitzvah. So when you read these books, and we'll start with the Bat Mitzvah because it's more interesting. A girl reading the Torah, right? So, of course, some people still believe today that a girl cannot read the Torah, which I don't understand halakhically what the problem is. You take a Torah, piece of parchment, and girls can kiss it, right? They can touch the Torah, so why can't they read it? It's not traditional. Well, 4,000 years ago, women were not priests, and priests were the ruling class, and they had far more power than just performing rites and rituals. They were second to kings. When the Romans came to Jerusalem, they were most concerned about was priests, the priestly class. The Chachamim were very happy that the priests were done with, meaning that there was no more priestly class in power anymore. The Chachamim are pretty clear about it. Of course, the priests are part of our tradition, and Kohanim are respected, but not like it was. It was now a kohen can't be corruptible. You have a bar mitzvah. You want to give aliyah to someone that's not a kohen, so the kohen will step out. So it's kind of like they're kohanim, but we're all friends. I remember having a minyan at someone's house, a minyan at home, which is the opposite of what kohanim had. Kohanim were the ones that were in charge, and they said you can't approach God without us. We do the rituals, we do the sacrifices, right? And if you try it, you're in trouble. So a minyan at home, meaning not in a cathedral type of shul, but at home, is a more spiritual thing that emerged in America and Canada, or in Israel today, modern times, for spiritual reasons. So I was at a minyan from a doctor who was a modern Orthodox, as modern as you can get to be not called conservative or reform. And he has to do a minyan, Kaddish, and I was there, Lubavitch, a boy, nobody mind. I wasn't sharing any fundamentalist beliefs on them. And he said, you're not supposed to be eating before the Kiddush according to the rules, and this is the ritual, this is what we're doing. And then he says, but we're all friends, And the way I understood it then and the way I understand it now is very different. But thanks for that. So the book is Jewish Girls Coming of Age, and then there's a Jewish Boys Coming of Age. Kimmel. Oh, two different people wrote it. Very nice. So in the Jewish Girls Coming of Age, the reason the book is showing you that the girl could wear the talis, right, and she could approach the Torah. It depends, of course. You have to go to a shul that's reformed, or reformed meaning conservative, reformed meaning as a reformation, right? Islam doesn't have a reformation, so you for a woman to pray together with men in a mosque, I don't know if they have that. I'm sure they have it somewhere, but as a whole, the religion hasn't reformed. Today, a girl could read the Torah. Obviously, some people still believe that whether they can call it tradition, they can call it respect for tradition, for their ancestors, for their grandparents, Something I used that stupid excuse when someone asked me to come with him to reform for his son's bar mitzvah. I said my grandfather promised to me. I made this shit up. It was not even true. But my grandfather would be it is true. My grandfather, if he would have spoken to me before he died, would have told me that, because my grandfather was against doing bas mitzvahs at all. Any celebration of a bas mitzvah, he says, is a reform concept. So don't have any celebration or party. But my family is Lubavitch, so we did have a bas mitzvah, even though my Zaidi was more of a just a fundamentalist Talmud Chacham. So my excuse not coming to the bar mitzvah wasn't even a bas mitzvah. It was a boy reading from the Torah. Was that my grandfather said I should never go to reform because it's something I promised him. I made it into some bullshit like I'm keeping my word and nonsense like that. Imagine my grandfather told me never to be a Lubavitcher, which he probably would have said also, because he didn't like putting on tefillin with girls running around not dressed the way he thought was appropriate around tefillin in the Tachana Merkazit bus station in Tel Aviv. So he said, "Are you a Lubavitch? You're a Chabadnik? You're going to put tefillin with the girls in the Tel Aviv bus station?" To him, there was, once you put tefillin on the table, it doesn't matter if you're putting it on a boy or a girl. How do you know if it's a boy or a girl? He would tell me, I only saw him when I was 7 years old, and that's the last memory I have of him. But I could use that same excuse, right? Inside, I can say, "Oh, Lubavitch, I can't be Lubavitch because my Zaidi." So I basically did it the way I was trained in yeshiva. And then later on, when I'm invited to someone's bar mitzvah, you don't get a lot of invitations in life. And if anybody invites you anywhere, that's God. That's godliness. That's your proof of God. If you're invited or loved or anybody's interested in having you at any other time but their family simcha, you should cherish that. But I was still in yeshiva mentally. I was still in yeshiva looking over my shoulder if Rabbi Laufer is coming to check if I'm eating a piece of cake with a coffee before davening in the 10 minutes that we have for break. So that mentality was definitely not anything of a sign of maturity. So one more important point of Halakha and women is that, of course, we know that why Hanukkah candles are not lit by women is because it wasn't sneeze for a woman to go to the door. Of course, there are still some people who still believe that women should not leave the house. But they're not the wide-held view, even in Haredi Judaism. So that... when I said this at a table, I didn't mean to give a Dvar Torah. I just meant to talk about history. So the rabbi's wife, the shliach's wife, she was like, "What? Women can't leave the house, and my husband lets me, and I drive." And I said, "That's not the wide-held view." So is that view Ratzon Elyon? That some whack jobs think that it's more godly for a woman to stay at home? No, it's not more godly. It's more Islamic. It's more archaic. It's more barbaric. Putting women as second class is the opposite of Shekhinah. It's the opposite of Bnei Yeseda and whatever you can cook up in your spiritual stew. So a young Jew comes to the library and wants to know how to do a bas mitzvah, right? She wants to do that coming of age. She thinks it's meaningful, it's interesting. So she gets the giving, the emphasis on the mitzvah, don't forget to study, the Var Torah, do the trup. You get everything, but that not wide-held view of the woman being allowed to leave the house. More of an educated child would say, well, explains why men, some people have only men in the shul, because, of course, there were no women priests 4,000 years ago. Simply said, you don't need a big, when you tell it, if you're a good teacher, You could bring your audience, who are simple people, to the nakuda, to bring them put them maimed al gavoya with the right wording. If you're a good teacher and you use the right wording, you can change a community. Okay, I want to talk about a problem in the library that maybe could cause a moral panic, and it could be a panic for anyone. There's a book, just like there's a book how to do a bar and bas mitzvah, there's a book on what you will see inside a mosque, right? So a child goes and looks into the book, and it tells you what you read, what you wear, and charity to Afghanistan, sadaqah, same word as in Hebrew. You know the mamash, like the tzedakah boxes and all that. Very interesting. So, what happens if the child decides they want to convert to Islam, right? Then I would be afraid. Simply because it's a death penalty for leaving. You change your mind, and I don't know if the book explains it right at the cover. Should the book be responsible to say it right at the cover? If it's the fastest growing religion, but apostasy is death penalty in most countries, and you'll be surprised the list of countries on the Human Rights Watch about apostasy in Islam. So what if my child was naive and gullible? So free thinking doesn't mean not critical thinking. Open-mindedness doesn't mean that you're gullible and then you go, oh, this religion, and then they show you how you make the trip to Mecca, and making a trip to Mecca means you have to convert. You can't call the Hilton in Mecca until you converted. So any parent would be scared shitless, and I would too. Meaning, it would take a lot for me to have that. It could happen to anyone. It could be to a child that's not feeling well and sick, and emotional problems that would jump into a religion thinking that they'll find some type of comfort or an answer or stability or a lack of maybe a bipolar disorder, some depression. Anything could happen, and any religion can be that little place where your child hopped in. And the child goes from 16, 17, becomes an adult and gets their passport and has a right to travel, and then they go and become Muslim. So you can be afraid. So I think teaching them about all religions as soon as possible would inoculate them from becoming a sucker to any. This is the advice of Daniel Dennett, one of the big outspoken atheists of the new atheism. Daniel Dennett is a philosopher, and his theory is that if child learns about all religions comparatively, especially the big ones, we're not talking about ancient Greece and Rome, then they will understand that this is just culture and custom, and then they won't jump in blindly, and sometimes even dangerously. We're talking about, if your child becomes a Jew, a Jesus freak. Okay, so they'll just preach that the end times is coming and everybody should check into the right religion. But if you join Islam, it could be very dangerous, right? It depends which country you're in, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to walk through a little bit on the shelves in the library because I already exceeded my 10 minutes. I was asked to keep it to 10 minutes. It makes sense, but I have to show you a little bit on the shelves. Interesting stuff. The library is not only a place where no frum person ever goes. So you will find, good. You'll find frum people with the big beards, as I just met the local Chabad Shliach. But let's get to the books, right? So you could read about the world, not just geography, but you could read about every city, right? And you could read about politics, and not just politics, but you could read about Zionism. If you're a Jew and you love Israel, you have galore. Things like, this is of course Dershowitz's book, right? But you have, you could read the conflict, and you have, of of course, you're going to have both sides. And then you have books by people who are very who are which you could consider very dangerous, and then you can have books by people who are considered nuts, just stupid, like Ann Coulter. I'll show you something really funny. If Democrats had any brains, there would be Republicans, liberals, victims of and their assault on America. Real stupid nonsense that. If someone read that and took it seriously, how would they get a job? How would you fix things? Then you have real this Israel lobby. It's a book by Marsheimer, very anti-Israel, but I loved reading it because it told me how good and how powerful AIPAC is. So it's like the joke about the Jew reading the Nazi newspaper and says, "I love it. It just makes me happy." And it does tell about America's relationship with Israel, which is phenomenal, almost miraculous. If you don't understand it, it's miraculous. If you understand it, then you understand why and how. Here's a book by a British Jewish philosopher, Alain de Botton, about status anxiety. He has a YouTube channel called School of Life. It's philosophy, and it's very interesting and a lot of fun and easy to understand. He has another book, The Architecture of Happiness, and he's actually an architect as well. And then you have a lot of on the Jews, right? Judaism, you want to understand what different thoughts, the story of the Jews, Shema, and then there's history, and let's see, the gift of the Jews. He says it's is going to give you a lot of nice things about it. And then you'll have Isaac Asimov, which is the science fiction writer, and he chronicled, the world, and then he has on the Bible, explains to you the whole ancient Near East. And then it goes to Homer, the Iliad, right? So, and why Homer matters and so much. And Chachamim read the Iliad, and they read these epics, and they understood it, and it shaped the way they shaped Yiddishkeit afterwards. So, at their time, in rabbinic Judaism, rabbinic literature. That's it for now, and thank you for watching Sheni V'Chamishi. Shkoyach.